It's a glorious day in esports when you get yourself to a Game 3, a Game 5, other esports, a Game 7. But here we've got a Game 3 of Vici and V5, two teams who I think, we don't know who's bottom of the pack at the moment. You could say that Vici and V5 could be towards that lower echelon or, lower tier. But if you're saying that, you're like, LPL's pretty darn strong this split.
It's really scary when Vici, like the punching bag of the LPL for so long, suddenly shows up and, hey, we're actually just a playoff team.
Yeah, the developmental squad. And V5, the put-togethers that have actually, really just come into the second game, played towards their win condition, and gone, like, the level beyond. Y4 especially was a bit of a standout for me.
Oh yeah, Y4, the amount of damage he was pouring into the late game on that Kaisa. We saw the 3v5 team fight in the end that really cleaned it up for them, and it's a massive takeaway pick from Puff as well, who does have the Kaisa as his most played.
Yeah, that's right. Puff and Southwind, good synergizing bottom lane. It was Y4 as his second, as the second best in V5. Of course, the MVP in Game 2, we would have argued if it wasn't, was Jinoo. That was like, disgusting. What's his damage? 40%? Yeah, pretty filthy, pretty putrid, in fact. And gotta say, he was a big man of the match.
The most damage done out of the entire match so far, and we had a lot of questions on it, but this is Jinoo showing his growth. On LGD, he was known as a player that could win his lane, but not always play the team fights out correctly. He had a lot of trouble in the picks like Sion and stuff like that. Coming into the team fights at the right time was never a forte of the team. It's really rare to see him have a breakout game like this, where he's always on point. They're collapsing much more cleanly than we saw them on LGD, so you can probably tell V5 is probably likely a much stronger shot calling team overall.
Yeah, absolutely, especially towards the late game. In the mid game, there were a couple of mistakes, especially around that Baron that Vici Gaming were able to capitalize on, and it's to Vici Gaming's credit that they played a strong mid game and are playing to their strengths as well. Just couldn't close it out, and like you said, strangling down Puff a little bit in that bottom lane made him a bit more irrelevant than we wanted to see.
Yeah, that's the big win conditions that V5 have shown in this series so far. Take away Puff's influence, get Jinoo a counter pick, and try to focus on Corn's lane. Now, to be honest, the third one didn't really work out, but if you get 2 out of the 3, it's still a pretty good draft overall.
And while we are looking at the bottom lanes, Clement, I want to look more at maybe Lei and Southwind, because Southwind feels like he's definitely facilitating the role that Vici want. And when I say that, I mean that Southwind is versatile as a support. Brom Game 1, Tarmkench Game 2. In Game 2, however, Lei needed to be the playmaker, and there were times when it was fantastic, but there were other times when it was too early on the trigger.
Yeah, definitely a little bit dicey there. Going to the Fnatic brush twice in a row and giving the enemy team basically...
Himself. He's literally like, Fnatic brush, boys, everyone come on in. You know in that solo queue game when you ping? You're like, let's invade, or let's bait.
You don't want to go, but you kind of feel like you have to.
Yeah, and then, so all that indecisiveness of like, oh, should we go or shouldn't we go? And then you start going, you're like, oh, wait, it's too late, support's dead.
The sacrificial beef patty. That's what we're going to call Lei for now.
100% genuine, though.
100% beef, just the way I like it.
That's good. That's a lot of yuan, by the way, over here. Man, I've had some good burgers over here, but ooh, they're pricey.
Yeah,
pricey.
true.
Look, the burger that Lei was obviously eating that game was the confidence burger, and there were no moments where I thought, all right, Lei doesn't know what he's doing. He's very decisive. That's the one thing we can talk up on this support, that he's very decisive, and he is definitely the playmaker. Be curious to see the voice of, the biggest shot call or the biggest voice on the team for V5, because if it's not Jinoo, maybe we start talking about Lei.
Yeah, it could be Lei. For me, I personally am guessing probably Corn with his expertise on the team. He does have the longest play to that potential. Y4 also did a bit of shot calling when he was on LGD, so maybe he was in position to do that. We definitely will find out. That's something we're going to keep a close eye on in terms of like the player mics and stuff to get you who the actual captain of the team is.
Very important this matchup though. Just coming to the the whole point of it is that for Vici Gaming and V5, their wins have been only just. For V5, one series win. For Vici Gaming, the exact same. Vici Gaming, their win against Sino Dragon, the ever-growing new team. So, although both of those teams were quite fresh, for Vici Gaming, this fresh roster has been putting up a fight. Every series except against RNG, and, it used to be every series, and that was a greater story, but still, every series, apart from that RNG one, has gone to all 3 games, and we're not going to be excluding this one. Vici hoping it can go all the way in favor of them. They had a great game 1. They shut out V5 in the early to mid game of game 2. But game 3, we'll see how the comps change. Clement, you did bring a bit of call to action on how you wanted to see the draft more adaptive towards some of the winning styles.
The big thing that I feel like is missing from Vici so far is the potential that Southwind brings to the table. Both sides, he was babysitting a bit of a weaker 80 matchup, so we didn't get to see much action in the early game from Vici Gaming. They were forced into a more defensive side of the matchup this time around. So I do want to see something like a Thresh that does have the protective potential and also the playmaking potential. On V5's end,
We
however,
got a sub.
they might be going for a very aggressive strategy once more. Remember, in all of these games, they did have slight leads in some of their lanes that they should have been able to push harder, and Pepper might be the one to do this. Now, a lot of you might remember Pepper. He originally started off his career on RNG behind MLXG,
That's right.
and then he was switched over to a star player in FBX, really showed a lot of his potential on the Jarvan pick, then was picked up by WE. He has a lot of strengths, is super good mechanically, goes all in, has very good damage calculations. However, the drawback for him is that he does take your entire team with him.
Boy,
if you're playing Pepper, it's a Pepper game. You definitely know. You're either following him or he's feeding.
You're going up or you're going down. It's quite interesting to see them bring Pepper into the game 3. Benfall was quite stable. Game 1 probably better than his game 2, but for Pepper we're expecting more of these carry picks. The Aatrox jungle, the Nocturne. So whereas Benfall will play something like the Gragas or the Jarvan, your initiator, Pepper's more or less the same. He's just going to be doing more damage. He's going to play something a little bit more dangerous.
Pepper is the warrior Jarvan of the LPL.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this burning stone? Why does anyone want to wear this? Can't I just build Black Cleaver and kill people? Isn't that just simpler? That's the Pepper mentality.
That was a very light voice for Jarvan, by the way. I expected meatier, beefier, you know.
Yeah. You know, Jarvan's the ruling class right now, including
really?
according to Silas's lore. So
Okay.
I want to tone his voice down just a little bit. But Pepper, the reason he has been passed around by so many teams is that he does have a pretty extreme style.
Yeah.
You're following him or you're not.
Because you're like, with MLXG, you're like, okay, what's MLXG going to play? Well, if he plays in that game 5.
I think that's where he got it from.
Yeah.
Because his master was literally
Yeah.
MLXG.
It's like, oh, here comes the Nocturne from MLXG. Let's see what comes into game number 2. Sorry, game 3, rather. It is the final game of this series. V5 and Vici. It's been a pleasure to watch this one, let me tell you. And straight away, V5. They got rid of the Alistar, which was played by Lay last game, but they are on the blue side this time for the first time in the series.
So V5 selected the blue side themselves. I'm really curious on what the first pick is.
Well,
the big picks we're thinking about, Zoe, Kaisa, they're still up. I don't think Urgot is necessarily high priority for Jinoo, but I expect one of those two to be the first pick.
Well, you got rid of the Syndra, you got rid of the LeBlanc, so Jay is going to have to opt in for something else. Lysandra is the other response. A lot of mid laner bans, as you said, Clement, a lot taken off the board. Considering Korn wasn't the focus, but Jay was. Akali will be the final one, which could be opted in for Jinoo, but Zoe slam locked in for the first round.
Zoe's the one I was talking about. This is the safe matchup that you can get in the mid lane. It also does pressure picks up from Vici Gaming. They have a decision between Ezreal and the Kaisa. If you don't take the Ezreal, then V5 very much have a secure poke composition coming in, and the Cassiopeia actually does not play well against that. Being a very short-range mid laner or AD carry, or actually even top laner on this patch, she can't really deal with the engage ranges of V5's potential comp. So I think this is actually pretty clear cut for V5. They could just lock down the Ezreal, and Vici, if I was them, the question I would be thinking about is this Cassiopeia actually going bottom? Can I actually play around with that?
Maybe. There is going to be a Tahm Kench, so you start thinking, right, what's going to be paired up with this? Remember, the Cassio can also go top very, very rarely, but in competitive play, yes, you're right. It's the mid, it's the 80 carry Cassiopeia, which again is making its debut in this series, if English worked correctly.
I do really like the options. So basically, Vici has passed the question over to V5. Ezreal or Kaisa, that's the big question so far. And V5, once they've seen the Cassiopeia, I actually do like the Ezreal a little bit more. the Kaisa, because of her short attack range, does have to go into the Petrifying Gaze range. It's not easy to play around that. And the question is thrown to V5. I really do think they showed their support a little too early.
That's right.
Because Tahm Kench doesn't necessarily have the best engage potential. What they're going to have to look for, they need something that can really lock down the team fights, make sure they get in there in the top side or the jungler.
Being easy to read for V5. Again, yeah, that support coming through way too early. You know, you're going up against a Tahm Kench. That's absolutely fine. Now you know that there is an Urgot that's been picked up again for Cheilzi in the 3rd game in a row. Now onto the jungle bans, however. And you've got a lot that you can get rid of. A Pepper. He plays the Nocturne. He plays something like the Jarvan. Yes, he also plays the Aatrox jungle, which is still up and available.
Jarvan, of course, is best champion and gives him the cannonball combo. So that's I definitely agree with that takeaway. V5, they're still looking at potentially, like you were talking about, the Nocturne, which you can get into team fights. I really like the Nocturne in poke compositions overall.
Yeah.
If you get map control, it's so punishing. And then the other options would be Lee Sin. I feel like for a poke comp, you do want some disengage potential. And Pepper is a good Lee Sin player, so I feel like it's a fairly easy pickup for him.
It is rare that we see the Camille banned away in the 2nd phase, especially with what's up and available, but they've already pinched away so many different junglers. Like you said, the Lee Sin, but this time on Vici Gaming. Now into this composition, you'd have to say that the Lee Sin fits quite well on Vici's side. It's
a good takeaway, but the thing about Lee Sin as you use him as an engage tool is you have to be a pretty damn good Lee Sin for it to actually work out. So this is going to really test Aches right here. He hasn't had a lot of games on Lee Sin. Actually, this is going to be the first time he plays it. It is locked down, but I do read this as more of a takeaway from Pepper rather than something that really fits their composition. There are better engage champions.
Yep.
Stuff like the Sejuani, of course, comes to mind right off the bat.
I said Pepper's not going to be left with much here, and completely right. Sejuani available. No! Kayn locked in for Pepper now.
Oh, boy.
What's similar to Nocturne, but doesn't have the range, or doesn't play, well, still plays around Darkness, to be quite honest.
Quintessential Pepper champions.
Yep.
Come with me on a wild ride. This isn't even particularly a good matchup against the Lee Sin. In terms of solo potential, he should be pretty quiet earlier on, and it doesn't actually fit the composition that much in terms of a disengage and keeping your poke carries alive. But he's going to lock it in anyway because he's Pepper.
And remember, it's a lot easier to play Kayn now in 9.2. There's a lot of clarity changes that make it easy to understand when you're going to evolve, how the trades, or how many stacks you get from the trade as well. So with Kayn being more viable, and it's starting off the split with Ning, I would say that the Kayn right now looks very punishing. The Jax is the final lock-in though, and that might just be Jay on the Urgot. Or rather, Jay Urgot.
Yeah, Jay on the Urgot.
Unless we see like solo Q Jax mid. Hextech Gunblade first? Probably not.
Probably not. It's going to be pretty stock standard is what I believe it is. So Vici Gaming, they're answering the poke composition with a split push comp. This is a very easy 4-1 type of composition where you can send Abyssal Voyage and help out the Jax, take him out of danger, and just put pressure in the mid side as well. If you have the Cassiopeia, it's so hard for the enemy team to really take down the mid lane tower. There's a lot of chokes that she can defend very well on the red side. So I think that's the game strategy for Vici Gaming. If the poke gets stalled out in the early game, if they can't take that mid lane tower, that's the most crucial one, then they will be forced to go later. And then you have the Weapon Master in Jax just knocking down towers left and right. So 4-1 game plan coming in for Vici against the poke composition from V5.
He can even play around Jay as well on that Urgot, and we thought Cheilzi was going to play 3 games straight, but better drafting this time from Vici, arguably. We were talking a lot about the winning lanes last time, but still comfortable lanes with the ability to scale and look towards that 40-minute mark where this game has been going in both 1 and 2.
Definitely a very scary scenario for both teams. I really like the development of both identities of the teams. They really are thinking about how we can counter out each other. Vici, they're still holding on to their team fight victory condition. If they ever get a 5v5 where they get the correct engage, they should be able to take it. If it goes super late, they do have the 4-1 split push to close out as well. But on V5 side, their game plan is more about the power spikes and keeping the tempo in
Yep.
their own territory. So big power spikes we're looking at right now are the Triforces coming down from the Ezreal. Gives him so much potential to take down those towers. And like we were talking about, Pepper's on playing right now, so it is going to be a Pepper game.
It is definitely going to be a Pepper game. We thought it would be about Jinoo after game 2, but with Pepper jumping in on the cane for this series, we'll find out if V5 can go all the way and get their second win of the LPL. The V5 guy, I can't understand the V5. It's just so close to the microphone, it's peeking it. V5. Like, it's literally the guy's found the microphone and sat next to it and said, this'll get him. But Vici definitely have the crowd support here in Shanghai.
They're a team that has such a long history, and a lot of times, even though the team you favor might not have been that successful in their history, you feel that familiarity with them. So I'm not surprised as V5 coming in as a rookie squadron, not a rookie squadron, but as a new organization, not having the same voice.
They're not rookies themselves, but as a team, they definitely are less than experienced together. Now, something that I know Raz would love to talk about here, Clement, is the Conqueror's Cane, which is once again the most popular pick. It is actually filthy. Again, I said a couple of words like disgusting before, but this time I'll take them back in light of using it against Kane.
Yeah, the extra AD definitely helping out there. Otherwise, because he is so skill focused, I don't think he can really get on the Hail of Blades train. I think Conqueror is probably the best option.
Yeah, for top lane as well on that Jax. And Grasp this time taken for Jinoo, so definitely worried about the matchup in this top lane, looking for survivability. Again, we have seen a lot more of the spell book, but it's going to be different. Pepper looking to make an invade here. And of course, Domination going to be the second. I think Ike's just gives this up. He's at half health.
Yeah.
Will get hit. Conqueror now stacked and ready. Ike's comes in for the smite, but he will not get it. Pepper secures level 3, and with that, Ike's is forced out of his jungle.
Amazing timing by Pepper right there. He sees the Lee Sin, use the Q1, Q2. No real damage left on that. Just walks in and starts taking his camps.
Interesting stuff, though, because Ike's is now down 5 CS, which is the full camp of Raptors, considering Scuttle secured in the top side of the map, and considering how Jax is going to be volatile towards this early to mid-game if he starts snowballing. It's good for V5 to lock it down.
Very studied path by Pepper coming here. He does get the leash, gets the early clear onto the Raptors because he has a cane. He clears incredibly fast, and then knows that he can get the Lee Sin with the build that that Vici are running, with the pathing that Vici are running. Knows that he's going to be around the Raptors. It's a 3-camp versus a 3-camp, and he just walks in at the right time to take the fight. Usually Lee Sin not that healthy of a clear early on, does take a bit more damage, taking the Krugs as his second camp.
We'll be able to stack it back up a little bit though. Cheilzi, this is a big push in.
It's quite normal.
Yep.
Quite normal for the matchup earlier on. The big question is, can he actually survive? Oh, good jump away. If he took that damage, it was an instant dive.
Let's take Roar of the Slayer. Decimating Smash going to be used, as you said. Jinoo takes a turret shot. Wave finally going to push back up, but Pepper's already backed away. Now would have been okay timing, but again, still waiting. Ike's actually coming towards his top side as well. I believe his Krugs were taken by either him or another jungler, aka Pepper. There's only 2 of them. You know, that's just the way the cookie crumbles.
I would really like to see 3 junglers on the map as well.
That's new meta. That's Season 10. We add a 3rd team into a game.
Ooh.
A triangle-based map. Could you imagine?
We have Tricast. We might as well have a...
Yeah, that's right. It's the future. Ike's futuristic play here in the top side of the map. Jinoo stopped for the decimating smash. Might be a mistake. Sonic Wave lands in. Flash there with the electrocute. He's going to commit forward to lead the confidence out of this madman. First blood for Vici Gaming.
What massive damage calculation right there. Gets the Q in. Knows that he doesn't have to stay around. Finish with the auto attack. Flashes out. Just clean play.
Pepper's coming to the top side as well. All he can do is take Krugs and hope that Ike's not here. This is still Cheilzi into the mix. Smited away by Pepper. He's over the wall. That could have gone from bad to worse for V5. They mitigate the losses after stealing away Krugs.
If you really like MLXG, you should love Pepper. The play is actually pretty similar.
Yeah.
They just go in. It was a 1v2 situation. If Lee Sin actually got the Q2 on him, he might have been in trouble like he is now.
Pepper has to flash, wait for the Sonic Wave. Doesn't have it in time. With Cripple there, Pepper just has to get out. A couple more stacks at the cost of his flash, but still not worth it. He's ahead in CS though, Clement. So, although top lane just went very harshly, still, the Kane wants an early evolve.
And he should be looking for the... we've only seen the red evolve so far, competitive most of the time. Ning actually has played the assassin, the Shadow Assassin, before in the LPL. Hasn't really worked out, but it was fun to watch nevertheless.
Yeah. More of a, you know, what is this composition looking to do? And in this game, we definitely want to see the red Kane, I believe. Especially with Lei and Jinoo. A lot of engage there. Amounts of CC to stack up. Ike's might be in trouble here, however. Shield of Duran going to lock him down. Zoe comes in. What an eat out of Southwind. Devour saves his life. Korn can't get him. Southwind, this is why he's one of the best supports in the league.
Picture perfect save coming in from the Tom catch. He was a pixel away from letting Ike's just drop down. He doesn't even use his flash for that. A couple more style points just for the confidence that he would reach Lee Sin in time.
He literally saved his Devour until Zoe committed forward. Flash burnt by the mid laner as well. And things going well for Vici Gaming in this early game. This is not what they're built for. They're going up against the Kane, a Zoe. The Galio even roamed all the way up.
And this is the biggest difference when you have a winning lane for Vici early on. Southwind can roam around and start having an impact.
Oh, hello. Jay's just popped Ghost. Clement. Okay.
I think it was... Oh no, he definitely was not spotted, but the pings do go down.
He's opted out for teleport in the next one, but that's Ghost popped. Interesting stuff. Did of course... I'm not even sure he walked. He just missing pings. Good guy, Korn. Not playing a solo queue game. Bottom lane, hopefully we don't see that as well. Bit of damage down onto Southwind, but Grey Health will heal it back up. Benefits of Tahm Kench in this matchup. Lisa will just trade back with Jinoo. Across the map, CS advantage top side, 4v5. Of course in the jungle as well for Pepper. Ike's might be able to influence that once again. Jinoo getting jumped on once again. Sonic Wave resonating strike. He gets bopped up right in front again. Sonic Wave this time the kick. Dragon's Rage to end it all. Ike's this time picks up the kill, and Jinoo is not having a good early game.
This is such clean damage calculation incoming from Vici's top side. Both times they go into tower range and finish the kills off with the last hits incoming right there. It was a good defense by Jinoo. He did get the ultimate and had Lee Sin behind him rather than in front of him. Still wasn't able to get away, especially with the red buff.
And all V5 can do and take away from that play is get the Ocean with Infernal coming up next, but you have a snowballing Jax up in the top lane with a Lee Sin who also has a kill and will probably get Warriors after this next clear.
Yeah, very dangerous situation. Vici is basically having Christmas in October. Their game plan is coming in early.
Well, remember, there's always an anti-clause as well. And Pepper seems to be it. He's taken a blue buff away and given it over to Korn. That means he'll be able to take his. But the benefit here for Vici Gaming is everything is envisioned. They knew when the Ocean Dragon was going to be taken. They know that the blue buff is most likely gone. Pepper's going to clear out the rest of the jungle. And we'll see if Ike's opts in for vertical jungling or to make a gank in the mid lane.
Now, Pepper has been having a lot of time to himself to actually farm up. But Ike's has been having the more efficient pathing overall. You can see he's holding on to basically only one camp of a deficit. He's definitely ahead in the gold department as well. And the question is, with Pepper being off the map for so long...
Oh, with a flash forward with Jay. Fear beyond dead. Korn, you are dead. Get right in there, son. It's time. It's dinner time. Jay with the kill onto Korn and the help from Ike's.
Oh, ring the dinner bells right there, because it's another kill for Ike's. He's just dominating this game so far. We did see the steals going over to Pepper, but it doesn't matter. Lane impact is what junglers are all about.
It's such a better early game for Vici, Clement. All across the board, Ike's is so proactive here. He will spot out that the blue buff is available. Jay got the blue buff of Korn. What are they going to give him another one? Why not? Maybe Jay's just helping. Good guy, give it to Ike's. There we go. So 2 blue buffs over. Vici Gaming 1,000 gold ahead. Pepper's coming in here actually, but will not opt in.
Doesn't get anything off of that. But this is such a bad situation for V5. as a Poe comp, your first question is, what is the tower that I can get down first? If I can get down one tower, I can rotate around, I can start my siege. But right now, Vici are winning across the board in terms of the tower platings. So how is Vici actually going to get their composition off the ground? That's the biggest question right here. And I think it has to involve Pepper in some ways, because these lanes are not going to come out ahead without him.
No, they're definitely not. Right now, the mid lane is stagnant. The bottom lane is still pushing in with Luden's Echo now onto Puff. Jungle, Mr. Ikes has himself warriors, but so does Pepper to that regard. We're still waiting for that upgrade, however. Right now, Pepper needs to find himself on top of Jay with the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. That's a possibility. Shadow Step going to come through now as well. Humble Trespass is available, but Pepper might die before he comes back out. Eaten all the way up. Pepper is locked down. Phoebe on death. It's not available this time. In jumps the Ezreal, and Y4 wants even more. Sleepy Trouble Bubble cleansed away, but Southwind is going to die. Vici Gaming running away is the support, but he won't get far. It's Korn who munches this time. And Puff now, he needs to run out of there. Ultimate doesn't hit. Puff has the 1v5. Not possible there. A double kill to Korn.
And what a great turnaround from Korn. He read the play like a book. Dodges back, turns his head, and takes himself out of the petrifying gaze. And they finish up 3 kills on the bottom side of the map. If you look at the kill distribution, all of it is going on to the Poke champions as well.
Yeah.
So V5 digging themselves out of the early game hole.
And that slows down the Cassiopeia as well. One of the biggest threats to Vici Gaming's composition. Ikes during this time picks up the Rift Herald as a mitigation towards those losses. And Cheilzi is going to get another plate up in this top side. So although V5 made their first proactive move of the game, the cost is very great.
Yeah, this first tower not going down is not great news for Vici Gaming. They did want that long lane to push, but let's watch how this play develops. It actually starts out as a potential 2v3 to begin with, but the burst damage so good for V5. Look at Pepper, he actually dodges out on a lot of that Q2 damage from Lee Sin, and Cassiopeia, with her lack of mobility, not able to chase down the fight. The only question here I really have is, was Jinoo really necessary in that situation? He did take a lot of the towers, and he did protect his top lane as well. Yep. So overall, it's just wins across the board for V5.
They're committing here as well. V5 wanted to make sure everything was locked on down, and it was in the end. So Jinoo expending a teleport to get down that. Cheilzi still has his available. He said that lane in the top side wanted to extend. Well, Jinoo is making sure it doesn't, but Ikes wants to go even further. Jinoo might be caught out here. There is no unstoppable onslaught. The flash away, however, what the heck just happened? Never mind, Visual Bug, it says. I don't know, that's a kick of an age. That's a kick of 2029 right there. Jinoo will drop eventually. And now maybe this turret opens up.
Yeah, they definitely are going to have the long lane they're looking for. It's just about what V5 can get on the backside of the map at this point. And Infernal Drake is a pretty good one to start out. Definitely having the luck of the draw on this one. But the question is, can they actually group up with Jax this far ahead in the matchup? I feel like they're going to, even if they get to siege in one of those lanes in the mid and the bot, they're going to have to constantly looking at the engage potential coming in from the sides on Cheilzi. And to really start the play off, a lot of times what V5 needs to do is actually just kill the Jax first.
So although they're pushing in this turret and getting turret plating over to Y4 and Lei, the issue right now, Clement, is that's a 13-minute Trinity Force Jax. That is a full turret plating worth of gold Jax. And that is a first turret bonus Jax as well. So small gold lead over to Vici Gaming. And now you can see Cheilzi with teleport is moving towards the mid lane. Ping's going down on that mid lane outer turret. They want to force this even more.
I really want to see how Cheilzi plays in terms of a split pushing style. That's one of the biggest weaknesses for rookie top laners, is that the communication really isn't there, so when they play the 4-1, it's very easy to catch him out. We've seen this with even experienced top laners. Gamegoon's pretty much famous for that. I want to see if he can have the coordination with the Jax to give Vici another win condition, which we really haven't seen from them yet.
Well, we have seen a pretty good couple of games from Vici where Cheilzi has been in control on the Renekton, so I don't see why the Jax would be any different, but V5 have been a very worthy opponent here in this series. So although Jinoo is 0-3, the beauty of having a Scion in the game is he's pretty much always going to be tanky due to that W passive, and it feels pretty good in the mid game, even if he's 0-3, having that front line. So at the moment, Scion versus Cheilzi, there's a lot more pressure on the Jax.
Great thing about tank players is they just never fall down in terms of usefulness.
Yeah.
Always filling out the same role. Laning phase doesn't really matter. That's pretty much how LPL played the game for so many years. Top lane, whatever, you can get 3 kills. As long as we were able to trade an advantage back onto our 80 carries, most LPL teams are actually happy with that.
That's right. It's more often than not you do see these tanks. Sometimes in the mid lane, as we're seeing Jay. Jay has been a big standout this game. It's the top side. The ability for Vici Gaming to play through multiple lanes. The bottom lane doesn't seem to be it right now. Puff and Southwind getting bullied around again in this game. Y4 and Lay having a really good laning phase, but you look at the rest of the map, Vici Gaming will now just walk mid. Jay will take a lot of damage from this turret. Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Vici does eventually get it, that's right. 2k gold lead now just about for Vici. They've broken top, mid, bottom the only left remaining.
2 turret lead against the poke composition. Oof. It's really tough. They already have their split pushing going as well. If you look down at the gold advantage for the top side, that's 1,600 gold, way over a BF sword at this point.
Yeah.
Not much that Jinoo can do about the matchup. They really do need to clamp down on this Jax before they can make any plays even happen, because even if they get a pick, Jax is just going to walk in and just cancel out all of the pressure that they possibly have anywhere else on the map. It's going to have to start there, and I want to see if Pepper can read that play and at least try to stop the bleeding from the top side.
There's a reason you brought in this jungler in Game 3. It's kind of the similarities of RNG bringing in MLXG over Casa in the Game 5, the Game 3. You want to change that style in the final impactful game. It's essentially a best of one now. And Pepper picks up the Kayn, so right now we've seen one moment where that Kayn has come in handy. It's baited the play. A lot more needs to be seen as these junglers will go head to head. More than likely soon. Dragon's up in 115, and there's a lot of plays around the mid lane. It is a redemption just to scout out. They won't see Jay and Ikes.
But they do have the pings going down as well. Now, Pepper is still in a very weak phase at the game. Doesn't have his transformations, almost 20 minutes, 17 right now. Is spotted out by Ikes.
Well, that's part of the disadvantage to not having these quick trades and skirmishes in the early game. You do not get an early evolution, and Pepper is very weak right now as a jungler, looking for the Darken. We'll see how we go. So, V5, 17 minutes in the game we progress. Ikes is feeling great at the moment. Almost has that Black Cleaver at 17 minutes.
And if we look at Cheilzi, he's actually building into quite interesting items. He actually could be going for the Essence Reaper.
Oh, yeah.
On this patch, we have seen Jaxes, when they're very far ahead, they can't opt in for that item, and it just allows them to consistently keep up their counter-strike after they pop the ultimate.
That's right.
And that's just going to be so difficult to deal with in terms of a team fight.
Let's not forget as well, Essence Flare is still available on 9.2, so every time you press W, you get all your mana back anyway, so you're all good. Like, infinite mana Essence Flare.
Yeah, we call it the helicopter build, and it's really, it was super dominant on previous patches. Even if you had a bad laning phase, in a team fight, like a 20-second team fight, you could use 3 counter strikes, keep it up throughout most of the time, dodge out on even the AoE damage, not only the auto attacks, and Jax with a low cooldown to begin with on his Leaf Strike. He is an absolute monster. I actually really like it if he goes for the Essence Reaver. It's going to allow him to stick onto the targets like the Zoe and the Ezreal.
He's a level up, and he's going to need to stick because that is a Cloud Dragon over the side of V5. Ocean coming up next. Trying to push through the mid lane. V5 are grouping together.
I like the siege that it's finally happening. They do pull Vici out of position, trying to group up on the ramp around their blue side. So V5 do beat them to the punch, and that's the start of the poke composition. Finally, the first tower going down, and the most important one at that as well.
That's right. 19 minutes in, breaking open the mid lane. All right, Clement, I sound like a broken record, but where's Pepper's evolution? We've got to find it. Because he's almost got Black Cleaver himself, or at least half the way with the Kindle Gem. Very quiet Kayn game. Let's compare to Ning's. Ning got 14-minute evolution, if I'm not mistaken, which is insanity. Like, you want to look at your evolutions like you look at your Trinity Force. You know, 15 minutes kind of being the norm. You know, 15, 16 minutes. If you're a good Kayn, you have a lot of skirmishes, a bit of a fiesta, sometimes as early as 10 minutes. My earliest is 8 minutes. I don't want to brag, but it's bloody early. And
Yeah,
speaking
you are
of
a
early,
good game player.
yeah, thank you, man. We did play one game, and we're never going to play anymore, so my reputation is not tarnished.
100%, baby.
Yeah, that's it. I'm pretty impressed by Cheilzi's Jax in similar fashion this game. Has an Essence Reaver at 19 minutes in the game, and is just smacking this turret. If you've seen WWE, looks a little bit like that.
That's the most beautiful sound to my ears in the world of League of Legends.
The best skin to be created for Jax. Yeah, you thought I was going to say ever, but definitely the best skin for Jax.
Godface Jax as well. I actually like the arena one where he's actually holding a real weapon. You know he's always talking about that, but I feel like a halberd is a real weapon.
Yeah, true.
So I like that one a little bit better. Pepper is still searching for his stacks. This is a bit tragic for a composition that when we were talking about the win conditions, V5, they needed to rely on their tempo advantages.
Yeah.
They don't have any map control at this point, so that's not going to happen.
Well, Jay's there. Pepper, let's go. There's one hit. Give me the stacks, baby. Was that enough? You have to hope. 21 minutes, level 11 Kane. Pepper's like, oh, I can feel it. I can taste it. I'm so close. Give me red Kane.
Can I touch you, please?
Look at that crab. We're having shellfish for dinner here tonight, boys.
Not getting much. I'm a little bit disappointed by V5 right now. I feel like they need to be making heavier plays to at least try and catch out some of the side lanes.
That's right.
They put no effort into disrupting Cheilzi at all. 0 ganks onto that Jax lane once it was over. Once Jax got that sizable advantage over Jinoo. And that's not something that's going to get better. It's going to get continuously worse. They're going to lose map control for that.
Yeah.
And even if they want to make a play in the top lane, they always have to have Cheilzi in sight because he can just teleport to the fight as well. And with an Essence Reaver, he can very easily clean that up. So I really think they need to target that Jax first.
You see Pepper as well, just still. This is the 3rd time he's made himself to the top lane. And this is just so easy for Jay. He's saying, I know you're here. 4 members coming up. Jay can walk back, but he kind of wants to save the turret. Interesting from Jay. Now, that means that there's a wider play here from Vici Gaming.
Vici doing a good job at defending this as well. They might still lose the tower, but there is a potential for an engage.
Jay's at half health here. Corner Y4 at the front. Pepper at the back. They've already left it. For the turret, that's still good momentum for V5, but again, not enough. So we want to see a little bit more of that tempo played around with. Lei still has Hero's Entrance available. And of course, Pepper with his ultimate Jinoo has the Unstoppable Onslaught to play with. What's next?
This type of a composition, V5 can always still look for picks. I think that's one good thing about the Zoe is that all it takes is just one sleepy trouble bubble to catch someone out. We've seen Twilla do that in his SDG game, in his SDG debut. Just catch the enemy AD carry out. In this case, it would be Puff. But other than that, I don't think the poke plan is really in. If you look at the bot side tower, how far it's constantly being pushed out, it's going to be so hard to really crack down on that target. And things are different now. You haven't punished the Jax pre-20 minutes. Now if you go down, high chance of you losing Baron. Cassiopeia, a great champion at taking that objective.
Yeah. And if Jax joins the fight, he's level 15. That's almost a 3-level ultimate Jax at this point. V5, that might have been a pick with Southwind all the way forward. Trouble bubble doesn't connect. The poke coming into fruition now. There's a good bit of damage that might force enough to go towards this Ocean Dragon coming up in 10 seconds.
So I like what V5 are doing right now. They can't overcommit into the bot side, so they're pretty much their only win condition advancing the game so far is getting a catch onto the top. And that's what they nearly did right there, but still, Southwind able to walk out, didn't even expend his cleanse either.
Well, I'm still concerned. Pepper's, it's 24 minutes. There's still no upgrade, evolve, excuse me. That's the most feels bad as a Kayn. You just have a quiet early game.
You know, Ning even said this. If you're playing the Kayn, you want to do it against a tank matchup, a herbivore jungler, something against like the Sejuani.
Yeah.
So you can just go into their jungler, have constant contact with them, and get your evolves a little bit faster. But this time he was running it into the Lee Sin. And he even saw the Lee Sin.
Well, hang on, here's the engagement from V5. It's Southwind again, he just walks out. Maybe a flash is expended, true, but Vici Gaming, they're losing their mid lane turret, the flank. a possibility. Teleport's coming
Jax.
in. Ike's sitting behind them. The flash is in. Cheilzi will counter-strike. Gets a big stun, but he's already dead. V5, their perfect fight exists, but fear beyond death onto everybody. Ike's goes golden. Hero's entrance is late, but better than Neville. Right now, Vici Gaming running for their lives because Zombie Silence forward. Korn flashes. Puff can't get anything off either. And V5 crumble on top of them. If you're waiting for the evolve, surely this is it. V5 collapse forward and the poke just comes up trump.
Vici Gaming, they've been waiting all game for Jax to finally show up, but this is what I was talking about. It's very difficult for rookie top laners to judge when to collapse correctly and when to continue the push. They already lost the tower. You can see V5 were not going for anything more. He teleports in and finds himself in a position where he's essentially 1v5, gets taken off straight off of the fight, and even though they get a kill earlier on, it's not onto the crucial carries.
That's right.
Let's watch that fight again. Really good flash in from Korn just to make sure Cheilzi is getting the sleepy trouble bubble earlier on. I like Ike's play right here. Goes into the enemy composition, gets a kickback and the fear beyond death to help his team survive a little bit longer. But Jinoo, he's happy with being down. It's fine. He can still slow. He can still deal damage. And with the carry still up, V5 just clean up the fight. That was not supposed to happen. We have to call it out, but not the best execution on Cheilzi's side.
No, definitely wasn't. Expecting more from the Jax. Doesn't have any tanky stats considering that Essence Reaver second. Is that an upgraded Kayn? It's not.
Oh, he died too early in the fight.
He didn't get any damage off. Pepper's level 12 as well. Hovering around, where is the blood? But in all seriousness here for Vici Gaming, Baron is a very real threat considering what was used on their part as well. All ultimates are available, and the fact that Puff used Petrifying Gaze at the start of that fight meant that Vici were able to trade back. Now with it up and available again, they have to be careful. Jinoo has found Southwind, but Decimating Snash has not.
No flash onto that champion, so there was a potential for a catch right there.
Beach Bubble almost lands. It does actually, for some reason. Puff walks over it, takes quarter of his health bar.
And you have to look at Korn.
Yep.
413, 750 gold bounty on him right now. Death cap completed. That's an instant kill on someone like Puff or Ike's.
Here we go. I think they may have spotted them.
Good ward there.
Yeah, okay. So V5 are out. They're picking another brush. Or maybe they're picking Baron. Oh, they are. Okay, there's a ward there that spots them out. Ike's is in around the side. Baron has stopped. V5, really good ward there on the side of the Baron pit.
V5 finally spots it out. Vici's ward around the Baron pit. And I like the way that Vici actually handled that fight. They're not a composition that can really walk forward into enemy team comps. So what they did is they just used the pressure of the Lee Sin on the backside of the Baron, forced the fork in terms of the mid lane, and that was enough to draw V5 out. So disaster avoided. They didn't have to walk into any sleepy trouble bubbles.
Oh no! He still doesn't have it. And now the cameraman's queuing on. He's like, hang on a minute.
Man.
It may be Odyssey Kayn, and it may be hard to figure out when he's evolved, but he has not evolved, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you right now, 28 minutes. Probably the latest evolution I think I've seen in pro play. I don't know. I'd love someone to figure out if this is the latest evolved Kayn in competitive we've seen ever.
Can we call Pepper's Kayn Peter Pan?
Oh, no. I like Pain.
You like Pain?
Pain's
okay.
good. Yeah, I like Pain. You know, that's who
Pepper
I am.
Kayn is just Nicole Pain from now on.
Yeah, it's going to be called Pain. It's painful to watch this because V5, their jungler, feels like the one thing that is holding them back at the moment purely because that Ranger CC.
He's got it now. He's got it now. I think so. Oh,
Does
look,
he?
the ground's shaking.
Oh, my. Can we go? Yes?
No?
Surely.
Please?
Yes. Okay,
yeah.
so he's got
Should
dark.
be red.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, good. All right. Clapping. 29-minute evolution. I don't even think the ground was shaking. I think the cameraman was just adding his effects.
He was just
moving the
agitated.
mouse.
It's
He's
like, come on, get your
got it."
evolve.
Okay, so finally, evolved Kayn. This is the difference for V5 because now that added level of CC around the Baron, the fight looks a whole lot more dangerous.
Pepper's pretty much like, guys, we got the late game.
I got this.
I'm finally here.
Carrying now. It took a while. Now Pepper's like, yeah, let's go. You want to fight now? See the difference?
Like we were talking about, always going for the Warriors and Black Cleavers. This is quintessential Pepper. He loves those two items. is going to be able to check out the positions on this red side jungle fairly easily. So this is going to allow, he's basically a scouting mechanic for Zoe right now.
Will enable V5 to come up to the top side of this map. Vici Gaming moving up here, but it might be a little bit too late. Wave can't be cleared out just yet. Righteous Glory popped here from Jay. Pepper coming in for the flank once again. Now, Trouble Bubble does land, but eaten up by Southwind all the way back to Miasma. Zones away Korn. Ike's looking for a flank with that Sonic Wave.
All V5 have to do is keep their distance. Vici don't really have the best engage options. Their best chance of getting themselves into a fight is actually using Ike's Dragon's Rage to kick someone back, and that's easier said than done. So, as long as V5 hold their formation, they should be fine. Here comes the kick!
There it is, it lands onto the crucial member of Korn, but he's dead. Ike's gets destroyed by his counter jungler, and no one else gets damaged. V5, the pick is theirs, and they're heading to the purple worm.
Oh well, you tried. That was a good opportunity, but...
What are you talking about? He got caught. It was great. He forced the flash, but Vici couldn't get any more.
Is that really worthwhile if you force a flash on a Zoe?
Probably not. Korn has another one. You're right.
And Ike's 24 seconds outside of the game. This is going to have to be a massive petrifying gaze.
Oh, they found Cheilzi. He's over the wall. Not sure what happened there. He does jump to the ward. Three-man decimating smash. Puff has been eaten out. Waiting to use the ultimate. Puff has the petrifying gaze. Flashes out. Petrifying gaze is there, but it only hits 2. And the damage is already done. Cleanup crew here from Y4. And Puff is the only one left alive. It's fair to say V5 are more than online.
Yeah, they're going to take the inhibitor off of this as well. 40 seconds on Jay. They might even have enough time to just clear back and go towards the Baron. Remember, they do have the Ocean Drake buff. So this is a potential cleanup where they could get the inhibitor and still get the purple worm at the same time.
Well, True Shot Barrage is going to hit no one. V5 is sticking around. Y4, Arcane shifts forward, can't hit Puff. They find the jungler though. There's a knock up here. Puff gets bursted down by Korn. They're looking for the end. This is a big moment for V5. A long series it has been with 40+ minute games, but in successful fashion, V5 will start hitting that nexus. They'll take it to Vici Gaming, cursing them forevermore, and pick up their second win of the LPL 2019 spring.
And Pepper comes in and finishes off the series. It took him a long time to get there, but he finally found the fights that they were looking for at the end. I really like the drafting situation between these two teams. There's so many back and forths. The takeaway from the on the Lee Sin coming in from Ike's, but at the same time giving up a lot of the engage potential that the composition really needed to defeat something like a poke comp.
How ridiculous that series was, and all the right reasons there. And it's interesting to see the development of Vici Gaming. They've gotten to that point where they can be very competitive within each and every single game with very different compositions, mind you. But to take it that one step further, Victory 5 were just already there. Bringing Pepper in, it might not have made that much of a difference, but the consistency of other players was definitely keen to win.
Definitely was the case right there. They were pushed behind. It didn't look like the poke composition was ever going to work out. Down in tempo, down in towers. They pretty much claw all of it back in a single team fight where they wipe house with Vici. Vici Gaming, it's always good to know your weaknesses earlier on in the split so you can improve on them. They've got the great team fighting, but like I was questioning, rookies typically don't handle the split push very well. It's a skill that you need to acquire with a lot of time, and it takes a lot of communication between team members. And that's really what cost them this series right here. It was that teleport into 5 people. You can see exactly when it happened on the gold grab.
That's pretty much every game of this series as well, mind you. But you're right. You can see exactly when that happened at the 23-minute mark.
Vici, they have great laning phases. I really like their macro plays. They do play slow and steady throughout most of the game. They are a team that doesn't look like a rookie squad. You would not look at this and go like, wait a minute, is this like a newly formed team in the LPL? I think they should be proud of what they're doing and accomplished so far. But V5, for me, I have them locked in as a playoff team. I feel like all 5 of their members are above average. You've seen their faces so many times before. You know what they can do, and we've seen the strong pieces to take it to the finish line.
I think as well for V5, this is kind of the momentum builder towards their strength of schedule. When we looked at Vici, they've come through a very hard run so far. Teams like Suning, EDG, RNG as well. And now it's like, hey, Victory 5 is winnable. You need to show your strength. And they did again, but it was just that final game where you're going, right, yeah, the rookie and Cheilzi, that one fight, which kind of let it all down for them.
Yeah, definitely. Vici Gaming, honestly, they were winning 70% of this entire series. You go back to this game 2, it was a 5v3 that they could easily close on back on. That game right there, 4 or 5k gold lead advantage. So even though that they dropped a game to a potential playoff team, I still think they could sneak into the top 8. They're definitely capable of doing so.
That's exactly right. And look, this is, for me, a good determining factor of where Vici and V5 sit. But we've got to move on to other teams. And coming up next, we've got WE taking on OMG. We're going to run it in full after this short break.